See the red. Sorry. Okay.
Now, do we have a motion to approve the printed agenda?
Come on.
Thank you, Maria. Second. Thanks, Scott. Roll call for approval.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next item is approving the minutes from our July 10th and July 29th special meetings that were available for review. The motion to approve. So moved. Thanks, Troy. And a second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Now roll call for approval, please.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
So we're in a truncated room today, so I'll turn the administrative reports over to Joe.
Okay, I have a few things here I'd like to talk about. First of all, I'd like to apologize for all of you listening for not hearing the Pledge of Allegiance. I forgot to unmute. We moved down here to the board office today. We've got some construction going on in the main hallway, so we didn't want to go through all the dust and everything to get down to 404. So we're meeting down here. Our other option was hopefully the STEM room out in the new building, but we still don't have water. So didn't really want to get out there without a bathroom or access to that water. So here we are. So we're adjusting. My first thing is I'd like to say thank you to the folks at Shoes for the Shoeless and the folks up at the community club for organizing this. Maria, Dottie, they put this on every year, and this year we were at 244 kids, and then we had 2 more families come in. So I know we're over 250 kids that we helped this summer at Shoes for the Shoeless, putting free shoes on kids. It's an amazing program, great for our community, great for our families. So wonderful to have. Next week, we've got busy things going on. Monday is PD with all of our staff in the auditorium up here. If any of you are interested or available at 8 o'clock, we'll start with breakfast and then have a presentation. It's supposed to be a short presentation. Ryan, I don't know if you saw the agenda today, but I'm listed for an hour and there's no way I'm going to need an hour for my presentation. So that'll go through the morning, and then there's stuff going on with CPR training and all sorts of staff meetings and things after that.
He needs 2 hours.
Yeah, there we go. Tuesday and Wednesday are work days for staff. Those days will be just teachers here, but Wednesday night is open house. And I say just teachers, secretarial and custodians, and everybody will be here, but aides and bus drivers would not. Open house will be Wednesday night. We plan at this point to have the concession stand open, so if any of the community wants to walk around and check things out before things get busy and congested out there during a football game or something, they could see an empty space and be able to ask questions and those type of things. Thursday next week, we have professional development again with the entire staff coming back, and this is something we don't typically do with 2 of these days, but we're going out to Chenoweth Trails on Thursday and having team building exercises and all sorts of professional development, personality traits and those type of things, all through the morning, feed lunch, then in the afternoon and break out and have some individualized meetings then. But sounds like a really good day, and I think our principals did a really good job putting our agendas together for that. And then the following Monday, the 26th, is when we have welcome students back into the building for the first day of classes. All to get ready for this, we hope that all of our, well, at least most of our construction stuff is done by then. We've got a hallway project. And for anybody listening, this is going to be something I want to explain on day one. June 11th, this summer, we got notification of a grant to redo our floors. Of course, we were hoping to do this. We were talking to people, hey, if this ever happens, are you interested in all those type of things? So we had people lined up, but nobody on the schedule until after we got that notification. So we hurried up. Okay, let's talk to each of those groups. We got them here. Thanks to you guys. We had a special board meeting, got the ball rolling, got them in here as quick as we could. They have things absolutely tore up in the main hallway right now. It actually looks fairly promising compared to what it was last week. So we're
They start full fire alarm.
yeah, well, there's that. And they say no dust, no dust, no dust, Joe. And of course, 2 fire alarms later, I think they got their equipment fixed where the hoses wouldn't fly off and cause dust everywhere. We actually thought we were gonna have another one yesterday, but we lucked out. Anyways, they've assured us everything will be done on Saturday this week as far as the hallway itself goes. They will have some floor tiles to finish up at some of the walk-off mats and 7 of the well, there's 7 walk-off pits, so to speak, as you walk in the doors that have been uneven, that needed to be fixed. So they're gonna fill those in and glue on floor tile on top of those, a real coarse walk-off mat type of floor tile with some transition space after that. In all of those 7 pits, they'll probably be doing those type of things, maybe some baseboards, those type of things on Monday, but we should have access to everything on Monday. A restroom project out here from Head Start is at least filled in where we don't have gaping holes where somebody could fall in.
I need to go to the bathroom, so am I want to jump in the bathroom?
Thank you, Mr. Schultze. The things are safer now as far as the actual grounds. The plumber is supposed to be back anytime now to do the underground stuff, and then the cement guy will be back in to pour the floor. We're hoping that all of that would be done before school starts, but I'm getting a little leery that that's probably not the same timeline. Concession stand is pretty much done with exception of the water. The fella has been waiting on a part now for over 2 weeks. They said it was supposed to be delivered today and then this afternoon. So next promise was tomorrow morning he'll be here to hook up the water. Says it'll take less than a day to do. So he and his co-worker will be here tomorrow morning to hook that up. Tomorrow we'll have water. Fingers crossed. And then we'll be able to have the plumber come out, flush everything. The inspector will be out soon after that to inspect everything and have the final done. We had at one of our last meetings a motion to advertise for an access road for behind the concession stand, current parking lot, short road that goes back here 320 feet.
363.
Wow, 363 misnumbers here. She had that locked in her brain from about a week ago, so that's who we're dealing with here. But thank you to Carla's husband. Jim is an engineer. Jim Serber came out and marked all of this, took elevations, figured out the amount of dirt that'll have to be moved out, the gravel that'll have to be put in, and put all the documents together for us without charging anything. So I will buy him dinner or something at some point. But really thank him. That is out for bid right now. And we do expect some local businesses to be very interested in this job. So we're excited about that piece. And the expectation in the bidding documents is this has to be done before October 1st, right? Okay, October 1. So we will open bids on Monday, the first day of school, the 26th, at which time I would love to get you guys back together to accept the bids and be able to move forward with that. So I'm going to ask for a special board meeting and we'll talk about that here in just a bit. But if I can get at least 3 of you available on Monday, the 26th, I think that's going to be my suggestion if it's an option. We are contacting a few folks to see how much it would cost to paint these roofs black. Green roofs, I still don't understand. But it is what it is. I know of another school that's actually doing this right now. So we're contacting them and they're supposed to be out next week to actually take some measurements and give us some ideas of what it would cost. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I half-heartedly said something at our last meeting about the demolition derby over here in Dark County with our school bus. Well, all right. I pulled it out there just to see where we were. after our conversation, I did fill you in on all the things. We of course talked to our attorney was the next call to see how big of an obstacle this really would be. And I think her quote was, "What are you thinking?" So I love her. She's awesome, and she tells it the way it is.
I knew that one.
But she walked through some of the things. Okay, if you do this, then you can do this. Well, if you do that, then you have another step that you have to do there. Walk through all these different things, and basically said it's doable but stupid. So we talked, and we really didn't make any more phone calls after that. But today, I get a phone call just out of the blue from a lady that is in conjunction with a body shop over here in Greenville that does, I think it's in Greenville, at Dylan's Body Shop. I just made the assumption it was in Greenville. It may not be, I don't know.
Never heard
But they are sponsoring this school bus demolition derby at the Dark County Fair on Sunday. And they have 6 school buses, glass out, buses ready to go. Everything's prepped, including having drivers. And said, we would really like to make this a school versus a school thing. So would you have anybody in your district that would like to come out and paint this thing? And it's first come, first serve. You get there, you choose which bus you get, so on and so forth. So I immediately went up to the administrators this morning and said, football team, cheerleaders, volleyball, anybody interested?
Art club.
And anything. And they all looked at me with blank stares like, this is Sunday? So we kept talking, and we're going to go out and paint the bus on Friday morning. So I haven't twisted an arm of Miss Moneybags here yet, but we're going to go pick up some paint tomorrow probably, or Friday morning early. And the administrators are going to go over. If anybody would like to join us, if any of the teachers would like to join us, if any of the students would like to meet us over there, we'll take all the help we can get. So I'm going to throw a couple ladders in from home and take the truck over, and we'll paint up the bus. So no liabilities, nothing back to the school, make our attorney happy, but we still get to be.
How are you gonna paint it?
I don't know.
You got a couple days to figure it out.
know.
Do I
What you
have to
gonna
have
paint it
you?
with?
Make it look like it's framed.
Wouldn't that be cool? They even thought, okay, what could we mount on
We
the
could
top
get
and have smoke
decals.
come out of it?
Cow
It'd be really
catcher in the
cool.
front.
Those big decals.
Yep.
You could put instead of paint.
Yeah, with before Sunday. For a bus that will be destroyed.
Mhm.
So I love any ideas that can come this way.
Okay.
If you got great ideas, please share them. And if anybody out there is listening, if you guys have great ideas or anybody wants to help, please contact me. I'll give you specific specifications on where. That being said, that's all I have for my report.
Any questions for Joe?
Oh, one thing on the construction and stuff,
Mhm.
are we still keeping the same bus in the parking for parents this year? When the parents come in and the buses pick up and all that? Because I know originally we talked about going around the building.
Oh,
Everything's the same. Everything's the same.
It's the same.
I did take a phone call. I don't know if it's from the same person that you're probably referring to.
I've had
Um,
several phone calls in the last school year over
Okay.
the part of people being clear out to Miami Avenue.
Well, and I was told that sometimes the gate doesn't get opened on, at the same time, and that's what causes the far backups. And I truly don't know if I understand it well enough to
I don't know.
say this is the problem and we can fix it. I don't know, but, we did talk again this year. We said, until this building out here is done, we don't want to do something and then change back.
Okay.
So we want to keep this as a construction drive until
Gotcha.
that building's done.
because that makes sense, because it's
Right.
be
It does.
dysfunctional. Once it's completely done, the goal is to be able to,
Then we
use
come
that.
around this way and we get everybody off Children's Home Bradford, and there is no backup anymore.
right, because it's not a good idea to start it in a few months, make it
Right.
change.
Right.
Okay.
And flip
Just
everybody
curious,
upside
because
down.
I know we talked to them, I didn't know.
Yep. So, yep, that's the goal. Do we want to look at meeting dates for a special meeting? Is it
But you already
possible
said
right now?
that Monday, right?
Is that Monday okay?
I'm not available Monday because I got Upper Valley meeting that day at 6 o'clock at Piqua.
Okay.
So,
And
I mean, unless it was really early, I could do it and be in Piqua by 6, but
it should not,
2, 3.
unless we end up with some problem with the bid, which I can't imagine the way those bids are written. They're pretty straightforward and we should be able to analyze them. I just can't imagine that we won't have something because the bids are open at 1 o'clock. We'll have the ability to go through everything. We should be ready anytime that afternoon, as far as I know.
Anytime after 1.
Or-
After,
I have to read 3.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Remember you guys.
And we don't need everyone here. I mean, if, as long as everybody's in favor of the project and they don't have a problem. But this is an opportunity to get this accomplished fairly quickly and have an access road, because that building seriously needs an access road. We need to get our grass back. We need to get everything set back and shape out there.
You thinking on the 26th?
as early as you guys are available.
Yeah, doctor appointment at 10:30.
So at 11.
I would be available from 3:30 to 5,
Okay.
but you can have it after that without me.
So would I.
You have a 6:30 that night.
I
You
have a
have a
7,
6:30?
yeah,
Or you
I have a 7 o'clock that night already. And I might have to go to Bluffton, which means I would have to leave by 5, so
Are you
Is-
available
is-
Monday?
Earlier.
earlier is
available?
better, yeah.
Yeah,
We're,
I can make myself, but worst case it won't come on.
Worst case, take a day off, huh?
Or just not show up. No, I got
Well, you guys tell me a story or a time. I mean, we're here from 7 o'clock.
How early can you do, Scott?
I was trying to look at my schedule, but the internet doesn't like it.
There's
Are you on our guest Wi-Fi?
No, my cell phone service.
Oh, jump on the Wi-Fi.
Much bandwidth with electronic record, I think. Again,
Oh, yeah, public.
does it have a?
There's no password for the
Guest
guest.
Real quick. I can see what time the end of the day is. Yeah, that might take care of it.
And to give you a heads up while you guys were thinking too, I didn't tell you this, and the pieces of the concession stand, we're waiting on the stainless steel countertops. Those are supposed to be here. He was supposed to get a delivery date to me today, but I didn't hear from him this afternoon. But we expect next week early. Fencing will not be in by the first game. They're scheduling sometime mid this September. Road October 1. Decals of there's a small group of the first set of ordered graphics for the building will be here next week early. That'll do basically the restroom area. There's 2 restroom signs and a sign on the top of the drinking fountains. But we wanted to get some more input on what goes on the rest of the building. So we don't have that done yet. So that'll be, we're trying to involve the students in that to see.
That'd be nice. 30 as early as I can get here on that day, it looks like. It's too late for you because you're. You guys, if you can do it earlier, you guys do it as early as you can. You would just need 3 of us, is that right?
Mhm.
Because you want to get it done, then you can get it moving as fast as you can.
What time do you get home?
3:30.
3:30?
Yeah, that works.
3:30?
Yeah, I'm gonna work.
3:30?
Sounds like a plan.
Gosh,
That was easy.
sounds like heaven right there.
And then you get out of here.
Yeah, at least on time. Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Maria, any update from the?
Last night was scheduled pickup day for, students, and tomorrow they start with students. So it's up and ready to go. I did get a little email, something about they're going to do a groundbreaking on the new, they got the most amount of money in Ohio, whatever, for renovation for career centers. And they are going to have some type of ground opening breaking ceremony with the governor soon. So I'll keep you posted on that. I know what it is, but I'm not exactly sure what it's. So I'll let you know on that. I just got the information today, but they're going to have a kickoff. It's in September on, because they're breaking ground on the new facilities.
Great.
But that's all I have. It's going great. New school year. Oh, they had like 25 new hires this year from growing from their new expansion and everything going on. And
I had to laugh at that when Jason said that. It's like, that's half my staff.
yeah, it's a big expansion. A lot of new staff this year. So
That's good.
I don't have a lot. Joe talked a lot about some of the things that are happening, working on financial statements. Actually, I'm working on all the paperwork that goes behind everything that he's been talking about, trying to make sure we're doing the closeout paperwork on the construction project. We've gotten final bills, holding on to that till we get a final on the building. But this was, I've got to say, an excellent project. We had contractors that worked exceptionally well. In fact, it's probably the best project. I talked to the design engineer the other day, and I said, this was the best project I think I've ever encountered, because there was no conflicts at any
No
time.
finger pointing with it.
None, and everything that we wanted to do pretty much got done. And we didn't have to make a lot of changes because I think we were pretty satisfied with what we did. But
so they need to go in the business of building schools.
Right. 'Cause that
It
doesn't
might
happen
not
very
take
often.
4 years to build one.
well, I think it was, we were somewhat told that this would be an almost impossible project to do, that it was going to require a lot of overtime. That was all figured into some of the quotes that we got, and some people wouldn't quote it because they said it's impossible. And we've met the criteria. We've met what we needed to do with the state. Just a little bit of cleanup on that, and we'll be done. And I think we got a very nice product. I think
It
it's
looks so good.
something-
It really
It
does.
does.
Something
We're
we're
proud of it.
And the little building for the
Mhm.
boosters looks good too. It just
It
looks so
does.
miniature.
It does.
I'm like,
a
what are they gonna do in
movie
that
there.
little thing?
And so the one grant that Joe didn't talk about that we're working on, well, there's actually a couple. We had the food service grant that we did a lot of the improvements in the food service last year, $60,000 to $70,000 of that grant was spent. It was $110,213. And a lot of positives came out of that because we have a generator that when the unit goes down now, we don't lose food because it's on a backup generator. We have just all kinds of acknowledgements, and we have software that's going to help with manage the meals and the number of things that have to be there for nutrition. Having Mrs. Clark back has been an asset for us this time because she's familiar with everything. She was very comfortable with this grant and how she's going to be able to implement the remainder of it, which is really working with kids, doing scratch foods. And that's one of the things that we still needed to implement that because we were replacing equipment in order to serve our kids and get some opinions and try to influence healthy eating at home. Then we also have the greenhouse grant that we were awarded. So we've been working on that. That's going to be a pretty substantial piece of real estate. It's going to attach to the building. It's going to be a very nice facility when we get it done. And Upper Valley has agreed to provide some of the internal supports to it. So I think that'll be a great enhancement. And I think altogether that it's going to be around $175,000 outlay for this particular greenhouse. We're hopeful to make it so that it can have a lot of kid interaction. we've got some ideas that we're working on to make that work better. We're waiting for the teachers to come back and have a discussion about that. And hopefully they can do some work, not only with the cafeteria providing fruits and vegetables, but they can provide some to the community for sale, like a lot of the other schools do. So I think that's going to be a major situation. We're still waiting to hear back on grants, and we have more that are coming your way. Weren't ready for them tonight, but and you didn't talk about the hallway, how that's going, and maybe that's premature to talk about some of the work that they're going to be doing as far as the graphics.
I can show you pictures.
I think that's going
Pass
to be
them around.
amazing too. So we've got a lot of positive things going. I think we're going to have a district that looks quite a bit different than it did a year ago. So, and that is my report.
Any questions for Carly? Sounds great. Next item is public participation. So
We need to get input on any federal IDEA Part B funds. Does anybody have any input on how we spend that money and with our title teachers?
I don't want to try to figure how to use.
Moving on.
next is the financial report from the treasurer, which is in the next 2 pages. Can you give us a
10?
high level overview of what you'd like us to approve?
Yes, items 1, 2, and 3, actually 4, 5, 4 and 5 are pretty much standard monthly business that we do. We did receive the early childhood education grant amount of 85,000, which is a continuation of what we did last year, and those have been cut off. So if we hadn't applied for it last year, now it's an automatic. So we'll be able to supplement with some of the things we want to do, and that's the source for the bathroom grant. The farm to school greenhouse grant is the one I described, and just the amount we're receiving for that portion of the project. We also got the remainder of the safety integration grant, which is going to allow us to buy a scissor lift for some of the work that's needed in the gymnasium, because the lift we bought is wonderful, but it can't serve the gymnasium because of the floor. It's too heavy. So this grant gives us at least a partial amount towards a scissor lift that can be used just exclusively for the gymnasium. Then we have the Dark County Foundation grant, which served to cover the trip to the Waco Air Museum today. And then the grant for the 2 Marks radios, which we just received knowledge
This
that we're
afternoon?
receiving it today.
That's why I didn't see that written on there yet.
And that is, if you don't know what Mark's radios are, they communicate directly with 911. So if we have an emergency in the building, whether it be a medical issue or something terrorist related or anything, we can pick up that radio and literally talk to police officers. Two-way communication right there. So it's very, very handy. And it'll cost us $5 a month $10 a month total for these units, but they will supply everything else, including installation.
Great.
Ryan, do you want to see these pictures?
So we won't be doing the pictures. It'd just be those. We're taking the,
Right, the composites and everything are being converted into those and digitized and then reprinted. That is actually 3-dimensional, so that'll be a big. It's not 4x8. It's bigger than that. I want to say it's 5x10 or something like that. It's an oddball size. But each decade is going to be one of those chunks. And then on each of those chunks, then they have all 10 composites. They have a history of the school and the town.
that is neat.
That looks really nice.
A lot of different pieces together, and it's even overlaid from a giant picture that represents that decade. So I think they've done a really good job. Mr. Barr's been working with Ben Robinson for this, and just doing. He told me originally, it's like, I don't know if it's going to have that wow factor, Chris. It just doesn't sound exciting, but looking at it like this, like that's incredible. So they did a real good job. So, and there's been a lot of research on what the history looks like and those type of things, and the different sports teams that were exciting that decade, and those. I mean, just the pictures are incredible to see.
It's really nice. It looks really good. Got a motion to approve the items presented.
So,
1 through 10.
Yes.
Scott, I'll second.
Any discussion or further information? Not another roll call to approve those. Please.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. We have no old business to discuss tonight. On our new business are items 1 through 21. Joe, can you give us an overview of what you'd like us to approve?
certainly will. I'll hit the highlights here. First of all, we've got a resignation of our EMIS coordinator, Roxanne Stockdale. Unfortunately, she's going to leave us at the end of this month. We are working on a plan, of course, to integrate. We've got coming in here along with some support to make everything successful with EMIS. We've got some other things with hiring, and anybody that's watching online, it is on our website too. So if you want to follow along with anything, but there is a lot of pieces here that are fairly mundane items. Central State is sending out a student teacher this year, Tatiana Cottrell. We'll have her involved with our 5th grade team. Had to think where she was in the building. And then we've got another one, China Nix is coming out and doing some early observation, but that's not quite as in-depth as what the student teaching is. Bus routes are going to be approved. New Creations does their counseling, and their price is very similar to what it has been in the past. We are amending the route van drivers pay scale to reflect the 3% pay increase that everybody else got. Our gifted services are going to continue through Miami County. Petty cash funds you see there, student activity budgets we approve each year with your permission. Tuition contracts haven't been approved yet or announced yet what that dollar amount is, but we will follow along with whatever's out there. Home instructors and tutors, we want to make the blanket resolution like we typically do to say everybody's qualified for that meets the stipulations. Tuition rates, same thing as the other one. We'll follow along with that. Number 13, we actually need to discuss and figure out if anybody here is interested in going to the OSBA convention and if anybody is willing to be a delegate and or alternate. We'll circle back to that. So think about how excited you'd be about going to Columbus in November. And that's November 10th through the 12th, but the actual delegate session is on the 12th. Transportation motion there, number 14, is the same as a payment in lieu of, if that makes more sense. We haven't had to use this in recent years, and we've used it once since I've been here in 7 years. Number 15, Title IX positions are going to stay the same. If anybody has sexual harassment ideas, comments, questions, whatever, there's the people that we need to talk to. Same thing with homeless liaison for number 16. 17, vendor rebate programs through the school lunch program to help out with costs. Early graduation for Hayden Nicodemus as soon as he finishes his studies that he has right now. We figure that's going to be just before Christmas. Way to go, Hayden. Megan Unthank has finished up a bunch of classes for tuition reimbursement. Jamie Sink is going to move over to master's column. And Mike Ryer actually watched one of the buses that he talked Raymond Clark into giving up so they could share a little bit of the responsibilities there. Being said, that's the business for the public here.
That's enough.
Okay, I do have one question.
Yes.
When you talked about the lunches,
Yes.
I'm not sure, I mean, I'm sure you saw it on social media or the news, whatever, where there's schools that are giving free lunches and they said that's a grant.
CEPs.
It is.
And we talked about that earlier this year about the possibility of doing CEP. And I actually talked to the treasurers today. I had a meeting, and I know Piqua is doing CEP, and their percentage is a little higher than ours. And they were borderline for a long time and decided last minute to do it. The calculation for us was almost a break even. And so in talking with Cheryl coming back as a new position, we were actually talking about the idea of seeing if we get more of the people to participate in some of the numbers and trying to get our numbers a little better so that it wasn't just a break even, so it was beneficial. There's additional paperwork, and the problem is with it, it's not a 1 year in, it's a 4 year in. So you make that decision, you're committed to a lot of different things, additional paperwork. So with somebody new coming into the position, we just and it not enhancing anything for us. In fact, it would detract from our finances. We just decided, we had this discussion, and we had this discussion with Mrs. DG. That was before she retired, and she was not interested in it and trying to do it this year and trying to manage it because there are some complications with it.
Our entire district did not qualify for it,
No,
if that makes sense. We looked at it and said, would it be worth it to split things up a little bit if it all were, if it were eligible?
elementary. We talked about what the way we approached it was talked about doing just the elementary portion of it. And there was a concern about how that would work. So we're trying to get our ducks more in a row this next year to look at it and if it can be feasible for the entire district, do it that way as opposed to trying to piecemeal it and do it. So we had lots of discussions on this and worked with the EPC as to whether it was going to be something that would work for us. And it really, it was just more or less close to break even. Actually, we would lose some money in some cases, depending on how we price the lunches. So just decided that there was a chance we weren't really just taking for a 4 year commitment.
But maybe next year we can look into more options.
We're continuing to look at it. It's and then we knew that we had to make that decision by June 30th, but then there's been some later discussion that maybe can give us some
Looking a little
opportunity.
more attractive.
We're wanting to see what this year's direct cert, and Cheryl's going to be running that in the next week. And if there's a possibility to bring it back in, we will. But it's been a lot of thought process to go through this and see if it was the right thing for this district. And both the old food service director and the new food service director were just not entirely on board at this point. And you've got to have the person in charge be on board with it to make it work the best. So, well, but it's definitely something we continue to explore. And that's one reason we talked about it back in April and May, and that it just wasn't working to the advantage of the school. But I'd love to see the kids. I would love to see the kids be able to get free meals, and that's why we were trying to push for that. But you've got to have all the people that are operating that be totally on board too. So
Well, maybe we'll get more people filling out applications this year. Cause I know that's a lot of the problem. Like
It
they
really
said
is.
at Upper Valley, kids need it, but their parents will not fill out the paperwork.
Right.
So I
That
mean,
percentage
it's
just gets
hard.
lower and
Right.
lower as the kid gets older.
Right.
and the hardest thing I have to understand is it's advantageous for them to do that because they can go through fee waivers, they can reduce their fee costs.
Mhm.
And so if a family qualifies, they're entitled to that. They need to be able to have that advantage. And to be honest, I was very, very hopeful that it would work out to qualify. But I'm not even sure you're allowed to unless you can't opt in unless you can prove that you qualify, is my understanding.
Right.
But we just didn't have that situation here this year. So I'm hopeful. I even talked with Cheryl about the idea of making videos or something that tries to explain to people how this works and gives them a comfort level.
I'll have.
Motion to approve the presented items.
So move.
Thanks, Melissa.
Second,
Thanks, Henry. Any other discussions or questions?
Do we want to put a delegate in here before we then?
Okay.
Did Ray do that last year? He's
Okay,
probably a
did that.
professional.
How was that?
he was really good at it too, I heard.
Oh, so good you didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. As long as it works that way, I'll put my name down again. I'll be the overachiever.
That was a rewarding experience and you would like to experience it again.
Yeah.
I have meetings all day. That whole
Put that on
week.
your resume.
I don't have any personal days.
I haven't seen the agenda yet, so I can't promise that it's going to be as mundane, but I haven't seen anything
Yeah, you can
monumental
put me
come
down.
across any.
And then Scott looks like a great alternate.
If I can only walk, I would.
Well, we won't be needing you because our delegates will be able to make it.
I will be the alternate.
Okay.
Very good. Sounds like everybody's.
I hope you can go.
I always enjoyed,
You are not
always thought it was nice.
Well,
to get it out.
It's a
But I
fun
just
topic.
can't get out.
Trying to get away from work.
Yeah.
It'll be great on your resumes.
Joe, I used to be.
Oh, you're presenting.
presenters.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
No, I can't get off work. I don't have, unless I call.
We haven't voted yet.
I can't do
You
that.
Took it in.
can still go, you just don't have to go to that meeting
Yeah.
Still
and vote.
working that day.
So we got our delegate, and our alternates, motion to approve and second has been taken. We just need roll call, please.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. Next is item 22. Joe, you want to explain that one?
Yep, we're doing a redo just because we didn't have a quorum at the last meeting.
Sorry, guys.
Motion to approve
I move to approve.
and a second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Roll call for approval.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
And abstain. Next item is 23 and 24.
And number 23, Bruins Consulting has agreed to help us out making a greenhouse plan. Designing this for a fee, of course. Number 24, we're talking about opening those bids up at 1 o'clock on the 26th. That will give Mrs. Server and I that ability to do that.
To open them or work.
Open them and then
Accept
we'll
awards.
award.
They're due the 26th, right?
They are due the 26th. And then when we have our special meeting, we'll actually accept them. We'll award the contract.
That's when we'll vote to.
That's when you.
You are-
Majority to afford.
Yes.
You are much too important for us to take that responsibility.
You get there.
Mhm.
No, our lawyer said so.
You know, right?
Let me talk.
We asked.
Have a motion to approve
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call. Yeah.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Next is a motion to enter executive session for item B1 on your agenda.
I'll second.
Scott and Maria, roll call for executive session.
I didn't get the first and second.
Scott
Scott.
and Maria.
Made the motion. I second.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes, and no actions will be taken after the executive session.
7:14. And Cody, I'm mute.
session at
Cody, we're back on.
7:23. We're back in regular sessions.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
Oh, did you say you second? Or did you
I'll
need a
second,
second?
that's fine.
Okay.
There we go.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Here. Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes. 7:23.
Good.